Well, it's Saturday morning, which means college football's back. It's week 0, August 23rd, 2025. BJ, welcome in. It's the first time you're on the new the rebranded Armchair Analysis. But welcome back, man. It is a Saturday and Sunday tradition that we have here where you come here and take part in this show. And
It
I'm
is.
glad to have you back, man. Genuinely.
It's been a minute, and I'm excited to be here. I'm excited that we have college football gracing our television screens yet again here. It feels like it was, in a sense, forever ago, but it also feels, in a sense, like it was just yesterday that
Yeah.
we had the championship between the Buckeyes and the Fighting Irish down in Atlanta. And what's to come in 2025 is, I think I think it's safe to say, at least looking, ahead from right now, that there is as much of uncertainty as to me there was before the 2021 season.
Yeah.
And so it feels like it could be uh, a new team that, is not really getting talked about a whole lot, that ends up coming out of nowhere and really being um, a threat to be, taking the oxygen out of the ball, if you will, for the next couple of years.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I sit here, I'm trying to get this link shared out because there's no college game day today, but there is armchair analysis, and
Why not?
we do pretty good here. We do all right.
We do.
Uh,
We
no,
do.
but it's been a busy off season, or sorry, non-playing season as I call it here. Getting used to the terminology that we're trying to create around here. But you know, the non-playing season was probably one of the busiest we've ever seen. Between what here's how I break it down. For those who don't know, I break it down a little bit differently here. We do what is called again the non-playing season. That typically spans from about February or late January from national championship through I don't know. Well, sorry, the non-playing season spans from January to August. But there's different segments between it. There's recruiting season, which spans from January till signing day, and then really throughout the entirety of the summer, we got recruiting season going on. We have preview
Mhm.
season, which starts in June. That's where we go here on this channel, and we preview every Power Four team, and then we take some requests here and there. Next year is going to look a little different. Stick around if you're new. But then we also have, of course, what is called the spring football season. That's where we get some guys on the field. We get a little bit of insight into what teams are looking like early in the year, going in towards what will be fall camp, and then we have, of course, the playing season, which is what we are now at. And
Mhm.
but this non-playing season was something else around the college football world. We saw so many news stories, so many things change. The sport changes so much, and here we are in 2025 with so many different storylines, but yet they still seem to stay the same.
Yeah, wasn't there the matchup that we have next week in Atlanta with Syracuse and Tennessee? Back when the 24 season ended, uh, the guys that ultimately are going to be the starters next week, I believe we're on the other side of the country from where they are going to be, playing to start the
Not
2025
quite.
season. Of course, that's
Not quite.
not quite.
No, Joey Aguilar. Remember
Well,
last year,
that's
this
right.
time
He was
last
still
year,
at App
he
State.
was right
Yeah.
across the state line in Boone. Steve Angeli was not quite across the country, but in Indiana. But nonetheless, it's a big difference because at
Right.
one point Joey Aguilar was across the country, he was out in L.A., and then Tennessee and UCLA seemingly did what was an unprecedented quarterback swap, where we get Aguilar now at Tennessee, Nico Iamaleava over at UCLA, and yet the
Yeah.
stories remain the same about both these teams. I think.
I think that's fair. I think that's absolutely fair because, um, it was one of those that when you look at, and again, we'll talk more obviously next week because that's when this matchup will take place. But when you look at next week's Syracuse and Tennessee matchup, the big question for Tennessee was always going to be, um, you know. how much is their quarterback going to do for them offensively? The defense, while it does have some things that it needs to address, the defense feels like the stronger unit of that team. And, you know, last year the defense was really what carried them into the postseason. And if they want to be in the 12-team playoff again here in 2025, it's going to be something that they're relying upon. But also, they really do need to improve on that offensive side of the ball, because they lost a lot of rushing talent from last year's squad that certainly helped them out when the QB was struggling. And maybe the change of scenery will be beneficial for both Aguilar and Nico Iamala. Good Lord, it's early. Nico Iamaleava. I know I
You
still
tried. You
mispronounced it,
tried.
but I
So, I
tried.
mean, and the storyline for Tennessee on top of that is two of their leading receivers over the last couple of years are gone. I mean, they
Yeah.
lose Squirrel White, um, which is, I think, arguably the bigger of the losses. Squirrel White's kind of been that guy, a really big time role player who's now at Florida State. Probably going to play a similar role down there. And what looks to be a pretty solid receiving room. We'll see how the offense comes together. We'll get to see that in, well, I don't know about prime. I think it's a prime time game, but we'll get to
I
see it on
thought it was
the national.
afternoon.
We'll get to see it on the national level, is what I'm trying to say, and
Yeah.
not the
Right.
prime level. But yeah, there's plenty to talk about next week, and we will. We're going to be here next week at 10 a.m. Eastern time as well to talk about everything in week one. Today, this is going to be probably a 30 to 45-minute show, at most an hour. I don't know how long we're going to go here, but I think it's going to sit somewhere between 30 and an hour. The things I will say here are pretty simple. We've got a lot of news that's broke over the last week or two, and I've given my thoughts on a lot of it. BJ, I want to ask you and give you your chance to kind of speak on some things.
Okay.
We'll start with the Michigan penalties that were announced. Of course, that included what looks to be a $30 million fine, including the loss of postseason revenue. Uh, a show cause for Jim Harbaugh of 10 years, a show cause for Connor Stalions of 8 years, an extra game added to the suspension for Sherrone Moore that will be added in 2026, likely taking place during that Western Michigan game over in Germany in week 0 next year. Um, and the loss of, I think, 25% of on-campus visits over the next year. Do you think the penalty was here's the question, because a lot of people are talking about whether or not what Michigan should have got. So I'm going to ask you, as somebody who does not really have anything to do with it, doesn't really have any skin in the game. Do you believe the penalty was just, and do you believe that we can walk away from it and be understanding of the fact that at no point there was never going to be vacated wins, but that was said from the very beginning by NCAA President Charlie Baker, that they were not going to take away a national championship. They felt like it was legit what they did the last 6 games after everything happened. So what do you feel about that situation?
Well, right. I mean, you hit the nail on the head in terms of anybody that's upset that the wins weren't vacated. After all this started to, kind of rise up out of the ashes of the ground in 2023, the all that came to a head really around the Michigan State game. And so if ever there was a time that the pressure was on, and there were more eyes watching than ever before, it seemed like Michigan played its best during that stretch. And so there's really no reason to think that they had any illegal benefits for that rest of that run. Now, if you wanted to go and say, that 2021 or 2022, were a little bit suspicious, that's about the only thing that you really, could have said. But I just don't think in this
But
era
they
of
still
college
lost in
football
both those
that
seasons as well. Like,
right.
that's kind of what
I
comes to
don't
my mind. It's like the 2023 season is interesting because if it's not found out and they go 15-0, it's one thing. But the other two, 2021 was hampered or was hindered by that loss to Michigan State, that which was pretty inexcusable on a lot of parts about the way that game finished. But then you
Right.
got stumped by Georgia. I mean, they were never in the game against Georgia.
Right.
And then in 2023, sure they go undefeated. They're walking in unbeaten to the college football playoff, but they lose to TCU, and sure that's helped by two pick sixes. But TCU seem to have things figured out too. Certainly, I know that on your end as a TCU fan, there are rumors about how that game went down and how the preparation may have changed for that game. But when you look at it, I mean, how much did it really help? Because they still lost the games where they were arguably maybe not the better team.
Right. I mean, it's just one of those things that it gives to the adage of any given Saturday. I mean, we talked about it. The all of this that we're talking about now. This was, the first couple of years that we were doing the Loudmouth CFB show, and
Yep.
so, this is kind of like nostalgia almost in a sense that we're getting to revisit some of the biggest moments here of the first half decade of you know Loudmouth CFB and now Armchair Analysis here
Yeah.
with all of this. But ultimately, just to answer the question, there really was no, in my mind, chance that there was going to be anything vacated. I think that this era of vacated wins is over with the way that the NCAA has handled other programs here in the last few years. I mean, if you think honestly that the that Michigan should have gotten vacated wins or the death penalty or anything like that, um, and you feel like their suspension should have been worse than what Penn State got for, I know, apologies, it's a sensitive subject, but for basically raping children, I mean, that's just foolish to think that.
Whoa.
So
Okay.
to me, there was no chance that they were going to vacate wins.
We could have went a
Um,
different way on that in
I,
wordage,
I could I could have. I mean,
but
but
no, but that's
that's
not
the
how.
that's the
No,
flat out that's the flat out truth of it all is what it
it can
is.
be, it can be, but let's still use some discretion with how we talk.
Well,
Um,
that's why I kind of,
but that's not what you did. But you didn't do it. So I'm not trying to call you out, but like let's use some discretion. Um,
right.
at the end of the day, whatever you feel for after SMU, it was not going to happen. The death
Right.
penalty does not happen anymore. There's a reason that they don't do it because it is too damaging to the universities and it's too damaging to the players and the
Yeah.
coaches who didn't have anything to do with it.
Right.
The way it went, the way things are here, the way things went with Ohio State after the Tattoo Gate, the way things went with Penn State after Jerry Sandusky, and the way things went, even if you remember correctly, at Baylor with Art
Hmm.
Briles and how that went down. And let's also not forget that I don't know if you remember this, but Jeff Levy had a similar incident with a sign stealing scandal that happened with him at Baylor. He's
Yeah.
currently coaching in the college level right now. I think there's levels to why and what happened, and I'm not going to get into those, but certainly we've seen this before. People have been deciphering signs and trying to figure out everybody's signals for
Right.
years. I did it when I played. Like I didn't go to other teams' games and watch, but when I played,
Right.
by the time the second quarter rolled around, by the time the third or fourth drive rolled around, and they start recycling plays, I knew exactly what was being ran. That's how football works. That's how sports work.
Yeah.
That's how baseball works. That's how all this stuff works. The people who were mad at the Astros because they did it a little bit differently. They did it in a way that was a little more dirty. But the people who were mad at the Astros for doing what everybody else has always tried to do, what are we really mad about? The MLB found a way to adapt and overcome that situation so it didn't happen again. And what is that? That's the wristbands. That's the earpieces or the pieces in the hat, whatever they are.
Yeah.
Um,
The communications.
and college football did the exact same thing by implementing the green dot,
Right.
which has been in the NFL for a long time. Teams have been finding and trying to figure out other team signals especially as long as there's no huddle offense and this fast paced tempo offense has been going on, and people have been utilizing signals and signs. This is
Yeah.
not new. It's not something different. If you think that your team hasn't tried to do it, you're wrong. Am I saying that Michigan did it right? No. But what I am saying is that there would have to be a legitimate reason for the NCAA to do more than just the evidence that they found, or in some cases did not find, to back up their cases.
Right. Right.
I mean, that's the thing. And when you look at like Central Michigan, for example, is dealing with a little bit of backlash from it too, because of Jim McElwain's interaction with Connor Stallions, and what they were utilizing him for their game against Michigan State. Whether or not that was Connor Stallions trying to be there for Central Michigan, or whether that was for use of, or maybe to help him out with a Michigan State game later on. Who knows? But it still, that still had, like, Central Michigan's still dealing with it, but nobody's coming after Central Michigan for it.
I mean,
I
here's
just
the
think it
thing.
depends on where you are, who you are. Are you at the top of
Right.
the sport, or are you not? And like, there's a reason Baylor, nobody even really knows or seems to recollect that situation happening with Jeff Levy. There's a reason why
Yeah.
Central Michigan is not even being talked about, and there's a reason why other universities who've done this or have been caught doing this, or other teams or whatever have been caught doing this in other sports, aren't even being talked about. It just is what it is. It comes with the territory. It certainly comes from Jim Harbaugh already having been in a little bit of hot water after Burgergate, and after calling out the NCAA about paying players.
Yeah.
We can look at whatever angle we want. There's certainly reasons why things happen. To me, I think what happens fine. Personally, I'm okay as a fan, as a college football fan. I'm okay with what happened and what the NCAA levied as penalties. I think that they are fine. The fine doesn't really hurt the university, which is kind of what's interesting to me. $30 million is about, I don't know, a fifth maybe of what they make from football alone. So hard for me to say. RJ in the chat, what's going on, man? Welcome in this morning. College football's back. Our fellow West Virginia fan has made his way in here. So excited to hear what he's got to say. Let's transition a little bit. We talked about Big Ten. Let's hit the other front running conference. We don't really like to
What
do that
everybody
around here.
loves,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. What everybody dreams of. I mean, shit, dude. Let's change the college football playoff. Put 6 of each. Everybody else can just go play in the Holiday Bowl or something.
Right.
Anyways, the SEC announced a 9-game conference schedule going forward, and I mean, about time, maybe. I don't know. And like, the
Yeah.
ACC still doesn't do it either, but the SEC and the Big Ten seem to be in this kind of, not even an arms race, but really just we want to find a competitive balance for the college football playoff, and we want to have our automatic bids, which I think is total horse shit. But that's what they want. They want their automatic bids. They want their chance. They want their 5 or 6 teams in. Therefore, they went and adapted a 9-game schedule for 2026 to better their argument with the Big Ten, and continue this conversation, and hopes of even expanding upwards of 20, 24, 28 teams. Um, do you see this any other way than what I'm seeing and what I'm gathering from it?
Well, I mean, here's the flat out truth of the matter. When you look at the rest of the college football playoff brackets, the FCS, the Division II, the Division III, they're all along that same line of 24, 28 teams that are in those brackets. And, we all know when we get those brackets that there's maybe there's between 4, 8, maybe, a couple more at most any given year that are capable enough and healthy enough that could go on a run to win it all, when that bracket starts. So it's just really a matter of, if this is going to come to fruition at the FBS level, are they going to adapt the same mindset of, okay, yes, we're going to add more teams, but we're going to guarantee that the champion of the MAC is going to get in, the champion of the new Pac-12 is going to get in. All of these, if you want to say that the top two conferences are going to get the most teams in the SEC and the Big Ten, there's got to be guarantees that the rest of the other 8 conferences are going to be allowed in, because that's the model that every other NCAA football bracket utilizes. Is that fair? Is that right? I mean, that's up to debate and up to others to decide. But in terms of for the SEC to go to a 9-game schedule, cut out the bullcrap FCS game in November. That's what everybody's been saying for the longest time. When you wanted to have that argument of who's better, the SEC or the Big Ten, you know, playing a game against UT Martin or Chattanooga in November is a big counterpoint to playing a conference opponent in that next to last week of the regular season. And so it's really going to hurt your strength of schedule, especially the next to last week of the season. You're getting basically a wash game. There's really nothing that can be taken out of it. And in the case of the ACC, not going to 9 conference games, you saw it basically kill their front runners' chances of making the playoff a couple of years ago, because their starting quarterback, Jordan Travis, got hurt in a game against an FCS opponent. So ultimately, at the end of the day, it will help out the strength of schedule argument, and it will get rid of all of the nonsense that we see in that next to last week. It will help make the scheduling better for, college football fans that want to watch more great matchups the next to last week of the season before rivalry week. And it will also allow for the, legitimate arguments to be made for these conferences. And there's also, talk of not just having an SEC title game, but having, kind of like a mini round robin that will, determine, out of these like top 6 teams, if you're looking at 3 spots, then you determine, the 3 teams that are going to go in that kind of style. I don't know necessarily if I'm in agreement with that, but I think ultimately it was only a matter of time before the SEC decided that they needed to improve their conference schedule, get to a 9-game. You're allowing for more opportunities to play more rivals, and also, you're going to have basically, if a player stays at a school for a 4-year span, they're going to have a home game and a road game against every single member of the conference in his 4 years there, by doing this 9-game conference schedule, as long as they stay at 16 teams, that is. So I knew it was only a matter of time. I'm actually, very, very pleased that they went ahead and announced that they're going to do this as soon as next year, obviously. Now the only question is the ACC, and if everybody's going to end up being, going to a 9-game conference schedule, so that's pretty much the standard in terms of the Power 4 conferences. You look at some of these ACC schedules, and with only 8 conference games, and it's like, a team might not be good, but they could end up being kind of this year's Indiana, just because their schedule is not up to snuff. And so if the committee is more utilizing the record over the strength of schedule, then you're going to have more, quote unquote, I make sure I stress that, fraudulent teams in the playoff, as opposed to a team that may have, taken a couple of, punches during the season, but is fundamentally a better team than the team that was more deserving of being in. Say, like look at last year's Ole Miss, for instance.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be interesting to watch. I think it'll be fun. What I'm curious about, though, is how they expect everybody to play everybody every 2 years, and then have a home and home every 4.
So okay,
so no,
basically,
hear me out. No, hear me out. I know how it's going to work, but hear me out on this. If a team has 3 protected games every year, that leaves 6 conference games to rotate through. Well, 6 and 6 is 12, meaning you will play. Oh wait, shit. Never mind.
As long as,
15
as
other
they stay at
teams, not
16.
16 other teams. Yeah, my bad.
Yeah,
So
as
no,
long as
it
they stay at
works.
16, it does work out that way.
It works. Oh, good. Good for them. Fucking,
That was the biggest thing that
that
I
was some
was
Cam math
saying
right
for a
there.
long time.
That was some Cam math right there. Um, anyways,
Wow, I can't believe it, Tyler. I got a compliment for my yapping. That this might be a first. Appreciate it, RJ. Thank you.
well, I mean, that just says that you deserve to be a part of a college football show, and I mean, hey, every weekend right here on our Armchair Analysis,
Every
you'll be
single
here.
weekend. Every
Um,
single weekend.
we pushed a little bit forward now. Again, we have a lot of stuff to get to here in this short time span, and I know you have some place to be today, correct?
Right.
Yeah, well, that's a shame. You got what, 10 minutes left?
I mean, maybe 15, 20. I think 20 is about pushing it, but
Okay.
we could do some rapid fire if you want.
All right. So, have you seen my college football playoff?
I have not. You want to go ahead and walk me through it?
We'll walk each other through here, okay?
Okay.
So, the four teams that get a bye, we'll go 1 through 4 here real quick. All right, I got Clemson,
Okay.
Texas, Penn State, Notre Dame. Obviously, 3 of those 4 are conference champs, but Notre Dame being 11-1, making it in.
Okay. For me, I've got Clemson, Ohio State, Georgia, and Texas. So I've got 3 conference champions, 1 through 4, with Texas being the second SEC team, getting the top 4 spot.
Okay. Real quick, taking a moment here. Drew in the chat, 9-3 SEC team should get in over a 10-2 Big Ten team. Certainly, depending upon the situation. I mean, like last year, for
Right.
example, Missouri at 9-3 was not even in the conversation over 10-2 Big Ten teams, such as Indiana,
Yeah.
or well, Indiana was 11-1, but such as man, who was
Oh, Pitt,
am
Penn State.
I
Well,
mistaken?
they
That
were
Penn State
11 and
was
2, I should say,
yeah.
because they lost the conference championship.
But the point being, like that, like the Missouri last year with their schedule would not have made it over
Mm-hmm.
a 10-2. Say Michigan would have been able to go 10-2, like that would have probably not happened.
Right. A
But
9-3 SEC team last year in Missouri was not better than a 9-3 team SEC team in South Carolina, for instance, or a
well, but
nine and
yeah, but I'm
three
not.
or
That's not
a
the.
nine and
That's
three
not what he's
Alabama.
bringing up.
I
That's not what
right.
he's
I know
bringing up.
that's not the point he's
It's just
bringing up, but
your record is not always
yeah,
indicative of who you are, and sometimes 9-3 looks a little different depending on what you do. But Drew, thank you for being here in the chat, man. Thank you for tuning in.
yeah, absolutely. We appreciate you.
So that was 1-4. Number 5 for me was Georgia.
I've got Penn State at 5.
All right. All right. Number 6, I have Michigan going 11-2, taking a loss in the Big Ten title to Penn State, but being there nonetheless.
I've got Alabama at number 6. This is going to be a third SEC team in the top 6, and again, I mean it's very possible that you see 3 SEC teams that have at least 10 wins, and I think that that's part of the reason why they would be put up into that conversation if they do get to 10-2.
Certainly. Number 7, I have Oregon, who just missed out on a Big Ten championship opportunity by way of their loss to Penn State. But I think Oregon's going to be a surprising. They're going to be one of two. They're either going to miss out because of young quarterback play, or Dante Moore is going to exceed expectations. Their issue is they're missing Evan Stewart. They're gonna have to find that production from true freshman DeCorian Moore. They're gonna have to find it from other guys to step up. But Oregon, I think, is a team that's really going to be kind of a boom or bust this year. I'm not expecting anything else from them.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I don't have them at 7, but Oregon is in my field. Number 7 for me is Notre Dame. Listen, run the dang ball. I mean, this is going to be a very physical, very dominant up front team in Notre Dame. You had them in your top 4 with good reason. I think they suffer a loss or 2 in the regular season, but they're still going to be a playoff team in this new era. They should not worry as long as they can overcome and be resilient. If they lose, they're still going to be a playoff team, with the exception of losing more than 2 games, in my opinion.
I think they're going to be sweating it too.
Yeah.
Truly, I think they're going to be sweating it. They're especially if their 2 are Miami and Texas A&M. If they lose those 2 games, we're talking some serious questions at the end. I think they win 1 of 2 and win and run the table the rest of the way, go 11-1. I
Yeah.
like CJ Carr. I know he's a young quarterback. He's going to be making his first start well, I'm gonna say Coral Gables, but in Miami Gardens, which is Hard
Right.
Rock Stadium. They
Yeah.
will. They're going to be interesting to watch. That first game, it's a good defense that Miami's got. It'll be interesting to see how he kind of pushes through it. But I'm with you for the most part. I think 2 is where we start sweating a little bit if you're a Notre Dame fan.
Yes.
At number 8, I got my Big 12 champs, Baylor. I am very high on this team. Everybody knows that. I've talked ad nauseum about it. Sawyer Robertson's my Heisman dark horse in the entire field. This is a team that can be seriously dangerous. They are going to get a chance to host a game, being number 8. They're interesting. They're a fun team to watch. They're going to be a
Yeah.
fun
My
team to
last
watch.
my last host is a third member of the Big Ten. This is where Oregon comes in. They will host a first round playoff game, and it's going to be very interesting for the team that's going to have to go up there and try to face them to see if they will be able to handle the Autzen Zoo.
Yeah. At number 9, going to Waco to face Baylor will be LSU. What a matchup. Dave Aranda and his former
Oh boy.
team. Uh, 2 quarterbacks who might be in the Heisman conversation, and Garrett Nussmeier, Sawyer Robertson. 2 offenses that could be really good. 2 defenses that that shape up to be solid. I don't think Baylor's going to be as good, but I mean, we know Dave Aranda can coach a defense. We know what Blake Baker's put together for LSU this year. That could be a really fun matchup should it pan out, but that's LSU at number 9. Going 10-2, losing to Clemson, and I think I gave them a loss to A&M on the road.
I think that's pretty fair because this is where I also have LSU. You got fireworks in the Brazos. I got fireworks in Eugene with LSU at Oregon. I think both of these matchups would be phenomenal in the first round of the playoffs. But yeah, I think that this is where the SEC's kind of strength of schedule argument is going to come back in their favor because
Yeah.
last year they only got 3 teams in, and I mean, I know there's probably somebody out there that's playing a song on the world's smallest violin because they only got 3, but there were very good arguments for a couple other teams that just missed out. This year, I think this will be the last team that has that good argument with around that 2 to 3 loss mark in the SEC. So I've got LSU at 9 as well.
All right. At number 10, that's where I'm bringing in Ohio State. I'm very skeptical about this team for a handful of reasons, and it's not for
Mm-hmm.
what you think. Julian Sayin has the wide receiver room around him to succeed, but we don't know what
Yeah.
the lights are gonna or what he's gonna do when the lights are bright, and he's gonna get a real big opportunity in Week 1 when they face Texas, who has a really good secondary. They're going to be led by Michael Taff, a really solid safety out there in Austin, and obviously Texas is my number 2 team. Ohio State, I think, probably falls in this game, but one thing that I'm really curious about is Matt Patricia and his play calling style. How does it adapt to the college game, and how quickly does it adapt? We've seen a lot of coaches come down from the NFL, especially on the defensive coordinator side, and just kind of struggle. And because they're calling maybe too complex of a scheme, maybe they're doing too much or trying to do too much and outthink the opponent, when realistically they just need to do what they're known for. And if Matt Patricia does what he's known for, the D line, a question mark in depth, not a question mark in talent. That'll be interesting to watch. Same thing with the linebacker room. They're questionable in depth. Really, the entire defense at OSU is questionable on depth because there's not a lot of experience behind anybody. That's my biggest question mark. That's what puts them at number 10. But they are
Right.
going to be really solid. They'll be the ones taking their trip up to Eugene to face Oregon.
Yeah. So in the 7-10 matchup for me, I have a rematch of a game that we will see in Week 1. However, the site is going to be flipped. This is where the U comes in. Miami is going to be traveling up to Notre Dame. So you get to see Notre Dame, how they are going to handle the Florida Heat in August with the primetime matchup Labor Day weekend. in Miami, and then we'll see if how Miami can handle the December matchup up in South Bend. This is really fascinating to see. But I think Carson Beck is exactly what this Hurricane offense is going to need to steady the ship after Cam Ward went to the draft. Of course, they've got a lot of good weapons that are coming back. This is going to be a really good team. Their only real big question mark is if they can upset Clemson, they'll be a team that could be in line to be a top 4 seed, I think. But I've got them not just losing to Clemson, but also losing to somebody else. And so Miami gets that 10 spot in my playoff bracket.
At number 11, I got Florida. I love DJ Lagway, man. I'm telling you, he's going to be a very serious contender for the Heisman. He's going to be a serious contender, just as a really going to help Florida be a serious contender, I think. The Gators got better as it went last year, and I think that's going to be a very similar story this season. We're going to watch them get better and better and better. 2 of their losses, they come early in the year. They're losing to LSU and losing to Texas. They move on from that and win out and make their way into the playoff again at the 11 seed. They'll go to Ann Arbor to face Michigan, which, I'm not saying it's not welcomed, but I've seen enough of this matchup for the last decade. I think we can maybe call it off a little bit, but just the way it lined up, Florida at 10-2, getting my 11 spot, and then I'll go ahead and give you my G5 real quick at Boise. Boise State gets back to the playoff. I think they'll be a really solid team. I was between them, JMU, and Louisiana. If they would have been my conference championship pick, would have even been in the conversation. But I went with decided to go with Boise State. I think they'll just be the most consistent. They feel like the most plausible option to do it once again this year.
Right. Yeah, you're absolutely right. So if you notice, I haven't given you my Big 12 champion because the Big 12 is enough of a fluster, if you will, that there could be any given number of things. I ultimately decided that it comes down to almost like a coin flip, basically, and I gave the edge to Kansas State. So Kansas State is my 11 seed. They end up heading to Tuscaloosa. They'll be the ones taking on the Crimson Tide in the first round. And you're right. I also went with Boise. They do feel like the most consistent G5 team. It was them or Tulane were the 2 that I was really trying to decide between, is in terms of who would get that last spot in the field. Went with Boise, so we're going to get a quarterfinal round rematch in Happy Valley in the first round. So Boise heads to Penn State, and that's the field for me.
Okay. My my semifinal ended up being oh man, what did I end up with? I'm gonna have to go look now because I cannot remember, unfortunately, which is unfortunate.
Is it quarters or semis?
So my semifinal. I'm not doing the quarterfinal. I'll tell you what I had for my semifinal. I had Notre Dame and Clemson in my 1-4 matchup, making it there, and then I had 2 versus 11, Texas and Florida facing off in the other one.
Interesting.
Making it into the quarterfinals where I have Clemson and Texas going on to play. I was really, really trying to vouch for Florida to get there. But I got Clemson. I got Clemson winning it all. This is my favorite team going into the year. They're my preseason number 1 for a reason. I think they are going to have the ability to get it done, put themselves in the conversation. Drew states in the comments, not learning any K-State lessons from last year. Well,
it's
he's
funny.
Not.
It's funny because regardless of what happens today, that I still feel like they're going to be able to win the conference as long as they get one of the 2 spots in Arlington. That gives them, all they have to do is win that one game. So regardless of what happens today, and I may not even feel like they might win today for all you know, but I think that they'll be able to respond if they do lose today and be able to go down. The Big 12 is such an unpredictable conference that I could have said Texas Tech, I could have said Utah, I could have said Baylor, TCU, Kansas State, Iowa State. I mean, Arizona State, the defending champs. There's so many different teams, so many different options that it's really, impossible. Nobody that is in the, business of predicting what's going to happen this year truly knows what's going to happen. And that's what makes it, in my opinion, at least, the most exciting conference in college football.
It's
I
the
will
best
be
conference in college
glued to
football.
my TV to be watching every single game
It
as
is.
much as I can, at
It
least.
is the best conference in college football in term from an entertainment value, 100%.
Yes. Yeah.
And the
You might
conference
even.
race is gonna, because you never know who's gonna win. We anybody in my top
Yeah.
8 I think can win, and that includes a Houston team that people are not talking enough about.
Yeah.
Um,
Yes. The Houston team is a scary team to me. I'm
Arizona
glad
State and
that.
Texas Tech are solid too. I'm we don't always see money win here in college football. We saw
Right.
Ohio State do with their money what they did, $20 million to fill holes in their roster. We've seen Ole Miss for a couple years now build their roster strictly on the portal, and it
Yes.
didn't work out. Texas Tech is doing a lot of building, especially on defense. They're
Hmm.
also replacing a great coordinator in Zach Kitley. I can't state enough. I love
Yeah.
FAU this year um, because of that, and Caden Veltkamp going to be a really good quarterback for them. That's my biggest hindrance. Texas Tech gave up 34 points per game last year. Can this
Yeah.
defense come together quickly enough to fix that problem? That's going to be a question. They're going to play in Salt Lake City early in the year, week 4, I believe. That game's going to really tell me everything I need to know about Texas Tech this year.
Yeah. They also, I think, have to go to ASU, if I'm not mistaken. That's going to be a really big
Yeah.
test as well. But yeah, it's just kind of a total crapshoot. I'm not necessarily saying that I'm 100% sold, but this is just kind of, I went with my gut, and I think that Avery Johnson is going to take that next step up, and they're going to improve enough offensively with him
He's going to have
having
to.
made the improvements. Yeah,
He's going
he's gonna have to
he's
in order for
going
them
to
to
have
get to this
to,
point.
because we'll talk later about this, or a little bit later, but
Right.
they're going to
Yeah.
need their run game is going to be something they're going to have to figure out over the year, because I don't think it's going to be quite the same as it was last year
Yeah.
without a DJ Giddens-esque player. Dylan Edwards plays a really good role, but as a starter, what can he be? We're going to learn today very quickly what they can be.
Absolutely.
That'll be a question to watch.
My semis, real quick, I
Yeah.
have the 1-4 is Clemson and Texas in the Peach Bowl, and the other semi is the 2 and the 6. So I was kind of along the same lines with you in terms of the 3 seed getting upset. I've got Ohio State and Alabama, with Ohio State and Clemson advancing to the title, and we might be in agreement on this because I also have Clemson winning it all, led by their Heisman Trophy winning quarterback, Cade Klubnik.
Well, that does transition next to what we were going to talk about, which is Heisman, and I do have Cade Klubnik winning the Heisman as my pick. Not learning from old stories, 2023 did not go as well for me when I did this, but I really trust in Cade Klubnik. What we saw from him against Texas, what we saw from him against South Carolina at times, we've seen
Yeah.
him be able to. He started to run the ball a lot more confidently. He started to throw the ball with more confidence, just be a more confident player. And he's got 3 really solid wide receivers. I think Clemson's going to be a fun team to watch. Cade Klubnik,
Absolutely.
as you have said, Cade Klubnik is going to be a guy that I think certainly turns some heads.
You were just a couple years early on him. That's all that was.
Probably. Cam has said Tyler with a bunch of
He's
periods
skeptical.
after. Maybe, I don't know.
Hmm.
He's coming back to me with something. I don't know what he needs, but
So it's almost one of those, how many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man?
yeah. What is
Kind
he
of
gonna,
moments.
what's he trying to tell me?
I don't know.
He
That's a good
sent it
question.
twice. He sent it 3 times. Like, if I get a third one with all caps, I'm going to be a little concerned. What the hell's going on?
Cam, if you need medical assistance trying to get Tyler out there,
call
is
it.
probably not the best.
911 will get there a little quicker. I can just tell you that right. Kate, it's not just because this is year 7. So,
All right.
Um,
We'll see.
all right. So we went through all of your predictions for the season, getting those out of the way nice and early.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and preview today a little bit for just
All
a
right.
minute. And I know you got to get going here. You probably got only a couple minutes left. So let's go ahead and I'm going to have you go through the what you think is going to happen today. Kansas State and Iowa State.
Yeah, so this is the most, up in the air kind of game today. This is definitely the best of the best in terms of the slate. Not to say that there aren't things to enjoy from the other games, but this is the cream of the crop. Anytime you get ranked matchup, a Farmageddon rivalry matchup in Ireland, I mean, I think this is going to be, two teams that really have a lot to account for offensively. And so your best bet that talked about yesterday with the under, it does feel like this is how this game is going to shape out, because both these teams defensively are really solid. There's going to be a lot of, good, back and forth. The battle of the trenches is going to be very fun to watch.
Yeah.
Ultimately, the question for me, the reason why I am a little more sold on Iowa State winning this game in a vacuum today is because I think that they've got a little bit better of a quarterback running back combo. And the big question is going to be the receivers. Have they improved enough to withstand the loss of the two receivers that they went to the draft last year? I think they'll be able to get just enough done offensively to win a kind of a grinding, low-scoring affair in
Yeah.
Ireland. So I'm taking the Cyclones to get the upset here in the first game. UNLV is going to mollywop Idaho State. I'm not really as concerned about that. Western Kentucky, Sam Houston is interesting enough from a Conference USA perspective, but I really have no
It's
reason
game one
to
for Phil
believe
Longo.
that.
Actually, I'm pretty excited about this game. It's game one for Phil Longo as a head coach. So
Yeah,
I'm going to tune in just for that alone.
yeah,
Stanford at
I
Hawaii
think,
is, I mean, we're talking Hawaii is a favorite going into tonight,
yeah.
and
And I mean, probably with good reason. I'm not necessarily convinced on Hawaii, but Stanford just has a lot that they're going to have to prove to me before I really have any faith in them, especially making that long trip down there. Kansas and Fresno State is intriguing because this is the unveiling of the new Booth Memorial Stadium, but Kansas is going to be I think able to showcase their
Kansas
offensive might.
Kansas is going
And
to win, and I think it's
yeah,
interesting because I'm excited for Jalen Daniels. He's gonna, I hope he stays
yes,
healthy. I really want to see Kansas with a healthy Jalen Daniels all year, right?
right.
On top of that, the running
Look at
back
how they
room's pretty solid. I think Daniel Highshaw's back and going to be the starting running back if I'm not mistaken. I have to,
yeah.
I know I previewed them, but I got to go back and look. Um,
Look
but
how they
for them,
closed out the
it's
year last year. If they can
yeah,
keep that that level of play, that health up, they're going to be a
yeah.
scary team, and not a whole lot of people are talking about
It's
them. You want a dark horse in the Big 12? Here's a team, another one that you could add to the list.
yeah. I'm still on Houston. I don't know, but
Yes.
you know, um, but you look on the other side of this game. You got Matt Entz taking over as the head coach at Fresno State. Jeff Tedford had to step down once again due to health concerns, and we wish him the best. Hopefully, he's healthy
Yeah.
and able to stay that way for a while. But Matt Entz takes over and has recently named E.J. Warner, son of Kurt Warner, as his starting quarterback. This is his third school. He's been at Temple, was at Rice, and was okay. He had some turnover issues, but was okay. I think he's going to have a solid first outing out there in Lawrence. They're not going to win. They're not even going to hang around. Kansas is going to win, and they're going to control the game. But there's a reason I like the over in this game because I think that we're going to
Yeah.
see a little bit out of Fresno State's offense to give us some hope at going into the season and what they might be able to do in the Mountain West. And then on top of that, Kansas I think is going to have something to prove. They're trying to kind of
Yeah.
show that they last year was a bump in the road. They're going to come back this year and be really solid. I'm excited for them as well. I got
Absolutely.
one
And
more. I got one more for you before you
okay.
go.
I was just gonna say I agree with RJ about this game. Really shouldn't be played in week 0, but yeah,
No, no, it should be played in week 0, and it certainly shouldn't be played off campus. But that's beyond the point.
agreed.
I got an FCS game of the week for you.
Okay.
We're gonna do this. I'm gonna try to do this weekly. I'm not gonna promise anything, but we are gonna talk FCS for just a minute.
Okay.
There's a matchup this weekend, today, between two playoff teams from last year. That is UC Davis at Mercer. A really fun matchup. I'm excited
Yeah.
for it, and I want to get your pick on that game.
Yeah, give me UC Davis. I'm not as sold on Mercer this year. I'm really going to put my trust into the into what UC Davis is building out there. I think they're the ones that are in the tougher conference in terms of the level of talent, the level of competition that they're going to be facing week in, week out. Mercer is going to get their grunts. They're going to get their you know. They're going to get their lumps in, but I think ultimately it's going to come down to UC Davis winning this one.
Gotcha. Real quick, Drew wants to know Sanford, Hawaii. Who you taking?
I'm taking Hawaii, even if it's a little reluctantly.
Okay. All right. Well,
Very close game. Very close game.
I know you got to get out of here. I know you got better shit to do
Yeah.
today.
Well,
But
not
now it's all
necessarily bad. Not necessarily better, but I have other things,
yes.
unfortunately. I'd love to stick around and talk all day with you, but
That's all
thanks for
good.
having me, Tyler. I appreciate it. I will see you in the morning.
Yeah, absolutely. We will be talking tomorrow, 10 a.m. BJ will be back here on the show, but unfortunately, he's got to get out of here. So you're stuck with me for at least a little bit longer. Um, no, but it's a good time, and unfortunately, yeah, you heard the Discord sound go off. My bad. Um, so what we got is I'm gonna go through all these games as well, real quick. I wanted to go a little bit more in depth. He obviously had somewhere to be. No big deal. We're here. It's week 0. We're learning things. Um, so real quickly, about the last 10 minutes of this show, I'm gonna go through every game, and then I'm gonna preview in depth on Kansas State and Iowa State before we get to the 11 o'clock hour. Let you guys get some time, go get some food, go get yourselves ready for that noon kickoff over there in Dublin, Ireland. So, Idaho State at UNLV. Look, I think UNLV is going to win. They're looking to bounce back. I don't know who the quarterback's going to be. I'm assuming they're going to utilize both Alex Orji and Anthony Calandria. What do they look like this year? How do they figure things out? Dan Mullen's first game back as a head coach. A lot of storylines over there in Las Vegas. We will certainly be talking about that game tomorrow, well, not even depending on how it goes. We are going to be talking about that game tomorrow. Fresno State goes on the road to face Kansas later today. And again, that's the opening for the new David Booth Memorial Stadium. Really excited to see what Kansas can do, how Jalen Daniels is able to play coming off of, again, an injury-riddled season. And I just want to see him stay healthy. That's my biggest thing for Kansas this year. We go for... We go on the Fresno side again. I'm very high on EJ Warner. I think he's going to play very well this year. I think he's going to play really well in this game. Matt Entz is going to kind of get his toes in the water about being a head coach. Going to be a lot of fun. That's a storyline game to watch for sure over there. Sam Houston at Western Kentucky is interesting. Again, Phil Longo gets his head coaching debut out there for the Bearcats. But Western Kentucky looking to have a really good year themselves. They were really excited about Maverick McIver, their quarterback, and certainly for good reason. He looks to be able to play the part. And if he's able to replace Caden Veltkamp, who I'm very high on, I think he's going to have a good year. Now I can't say that with certainty because I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball in front of me. But it certainly could be an interesting one for me. I really like to see what we get out of Western Kentucky. I'm really excited to see what we get out of Sam Houston as well. Stanford goes on the road to face Hawaii today. That's a 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time kick, which means it's an earlier game out there. But Hawaii just feels to me, I really like Timmy Chang. I really like the style that they run, that the run and shoot. You don't really see teams doing that anymore. But Hawaii does it, and Timmy Chang he learned from some of the best in his time as the quarterback at Hawaii in the early 2000s. Now as a head coach, getting to lead this offense, getting to lead this team, I think they're going to have a better year than people expect. And I think it's going to start with I think they're going to beat Stanford, personally. Stanford's got a lot of questions and a lot of storylines themselves coming into this year. And certainly the big one is Frank Reich having only 1 year. Andrew Luck being the GM and firing Troy Taylor in the middle of the offseason, really setting them behind schedule already. And sure, sometimes you got to take a big risk for a big reward, but I just do not see this one paying off in the way they expect it to. This year is going to be interesting. I'm curious to see how much fight this team has. I'm curious to see how much they really want to be there. It's going to start with this game on the road. I think it's going to be tough, and they're going to face an offense that, like Cam just said, they're going to score. Hawaii is going to score, and there was not very much question about that. So, with certainty to make sure that we are tuning into that game later tonight. On the FCS side, we got some other games. I'm going to talk about UC Davis and Mercer here in a little bit, but we got other games going on. North Carolina Central goes and faces Southern in the MEAC SWAC kickoff game. Really excited for that. That's going to be a fun game. That game always ends up being fun, but I'm taking NC Central. I think they're going to be a really good team this year in the MEAC. We got Incarnate Word against Nichols. That's an early game. That's at 1 p.m. if I'm not mistaken. I think on ESPN2 if you're looking to tune in to something during commercials or even halftime. I'm taking UIW. Incarnate Word's been really solid over the last few years, and I'm going to just continue to watch them progress and I think succeed as a program. Tarleton State goes on the road to face Portland State, another playoff team from last year. Tarleton State looking to punch their way to a 1-0 record. They're on the road this week. I think they will be able to get the job done. I'm trusting in what they're able to do, but it'll be an interesting one as well. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on that. UC Davis at Mercer. I'm very similar with BJ here. I think UC Davis is putting themselves in a better position. If I'm not mistaken, I'm going to do some research live here because, well, I can. So while we sit here, trying to confirm to myself who their quarterback is because I believe I know, but I need to make sure I get it right. Because if I don't get it right, then what's the point of me being here? Okay, so I am wrong. It's not UC Davis. It must be it might be Irvine. I can't remember. But nonetheless, still buying pretty hard into this team and being able to win this game. I think they'll have a really a solid outing today. I think Mercer is a team that I think coming out of the SoCon this year, I don't expect to really be that team. I don't expect to be very good or as good. I think East Tennessee State is going to be the team to beat in that conference. They've really put together a roster over there, led by quarterback Cade McNamara, but they also have Jacoby Criswell, I believe, as a quarterback over there. They brought in a handful of transfers that I think is really going to build themselves up. So excited for that one as well. But let's go ahead and get ourselves into the preview here, and here it is, our new graphic for the game of the week, or a game of the week. Kansas State and Iowa State, Dublin, Ireland at noon here today. I'll be on ESPN. Kansas State's a 3.5-point favorite going into this thing. Over under sits at 50.5. That's a pretty big number going into this one. Last year, some stats that you're looking at. These teams both averaged about the same in points per game. Both averaged similarly in points per game allowed. These programs seem to mirror each other in a lot of ways. That's why this game's always so fun. They're really strong at the line of scrimmage, and they really like to run the ball and beat you physically. My keys to this game, you see it there. Kansas State needs to control Iowa State's running game. Carson Hansen was really good last year, and Abu Sama is still on this roster, and he was a big play specialist back in 2023. I'm expecting him to get back to his typical ways. I'm expecting Hansen to continue to play well. I'm also looking for Chase Sowell on the wide receiver room for Iowa State. I think Chase Sowell is going to be a guy who people really learn who he is early. He's an ECU transfer coming in, has a lot of experience, was a favorite target of Caden Hauser last year. I'm really excited to watch what Iowa State's offense does. I'm also excited for their defense because I think they are going to play really well. And I talked about it earlier. Dylan Edwards, I like Dylan Edwards. I think he's a really good player. I think he fits the bill of a receiving back or a third down back, a guy you get in the game to get him the ball in space. The problem is K-State loves to run between the tackles. At least that's what they've done over the last handful of years. And if they are not able to get the ball north and south in the run game, they've typically not been successful over the last handful of years. It makes it really interesting for me to watch and sit here and sit back and look and be confident. It's hard for me to be confident in the K-State running game. I think they're going to struggle. They're going to go through their issues early in the year, eventually putting themselves in position to maybe find that running back who can really do what they need him to do between the trenches. Dylan Edwards is going to be good, and I think they're going to utilize Avery Johnson a lot. That's why Iowa State's key to the game. Manage Avery Johnson. Keep him in the pocket. Keep him honest, and really make him uncomfortable. If they can do that, this team is going to be able to win. And I think Iowa State might even win pretty comfortably if that happens. I'm very high on the confidence that I have with Iowa State going into this season versus what I feel about Kansas State going into the year. Does that mean I'm going to be correct? No, not at all. Why is that the case? Because this is college football, and any given Saturday, anything can happen. But we walk away from the day learning a little bit more about every team going, or well, these two teams going into week 1 and beyond throughout the rest of the season. My pick is Iowa State. I think they're going to be able to win the game. I think they will control a good portion of this game. Once they get comfortable, once the offense settles down, Iowa State, I think, is going to be able to win this game. And I think they might win by 2 scores. My personal prediction, I'm going to say, and look, I don't really like to do score predictions, but I'm going to write one down here. I'm going to write one down, and I'm going to come back to it tomorrow. I am saying 21-17 Iowa State. 21-17 Iowa State. I think they're gonna control the game. K-State may get a little some things figured out late, keep this thing within a score, but the Cyclones, I think, are going to be able to take control, win this game, get the job done across the pond over there in Ireland. Come back, be ready for their next game. I believe they play North Dakota. So, yeah. With that being said, that does it for us here today. We closed it out right around an hour. I thank y'all for tuning in. RJ, thank you for complimenting the graphic. Drew, I see you talking. You take the Iowa money line. I assume you mean Iowa State money line over in the Kansas game, and the Hawaii money line at plus 661. All right, I'm down with that. I might join you on that one. I don't know. I got a handful of bets in. If you didn't catch my take 10, my game bets this week are Kansas State, Iowa State under 50.5, and Fresno and Kansas over 49.5. I bet a lot of over-unders on win totals a lot this week as well. Next week we'll have 10 games of bets. So Iowa State went from plus 130 to plus 135 in the last 5 minutes. That's a decent shift, but I'm going to stay confident here. I'm going to stay on Iowa State. There's something in my gut telling me they're going to win this game, and maybe I'm wrong. That happens before. We don't mind being wrong here on this channel. We don't blame the players. We don't blame the coaches. I blame me for maybe missing a little bit on the research, or maybe just being a little too overconfident. But nonetheless, still a lot of fun. I thank you guys for tuning in to this live show. Tomorrow we will be back once again. We'll be talking about everything from today, all the games, every score. Look, we don't do front runner around here. We don't do the front runner thing around here. We are tuning in to every game, and we are talking about every game in some form or fashion. So yeah, make sure you guys stick around. Make sure you guys tune in. If you're new around here, you subscribe, comment down below. Of course, keep the comments flowing in. I love having this during the week, during the Saturday and Sunday shows, seeing people talking. It's a lot of fun. We're building a community here. That's all. That's the point of this whole thing. Have a community, talk college football, enjoy our Saturdays, and that's what we're here for. And in the case of week 1, we'll enjoy Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and even Monday when we get UNC and TCU. So next week we got a lot to talk about. Make sure you're here. But with that said, y'all have a great rest of your day. You enjoy your Saturday, and we'll see you guys tomorrow again with the weekend recap.